Yeah, hi, it's Harpreet Singh from Western Singh Law Firm. Today I want to talk about paid sick leave. I think paid sick leave, you have already, I think many of you have taken those kind of leaves from your employer. Obviously, when you're sick, not feeling comfortable to work, you don't uh, like to work on that day because you're just feeling somewhat dizzy or having some issue with your health. In that situation, you obviously take paid sick leave. So that means you are getting paid even if you're not working on that day or time. So what are the rules surrounding paid sick leave, and how you would, and from where you would be able to know how much time or how much benefit you are left with at a particular time. So first of all, the paid sick leave is required under California Labor Code 246, which provides that the every employer need to provide their employee a paid sick leave. Either there is one rule about 1 hour for every 30 hours worked, or the employer can set how much accrual time the employer wants to give based on their own policy. But there is a minimum requirement that it needs to be 24 hours of paid sick leave accrued based on the method the employer uses with the first 120 days of the employment, or at least within the year of employment. So that means with 24 hours, if you think about a full-time work, 8 hours a day, so it comes up to at least 3 days of paid sick leave if you are working full time 8 hours a day. So 24 hours at least annually. So that's the minimum requirement. Even if employer want to use a separate method of accrual of that paid sick leave, uh, this paid sick leave time, if suppose you don't use it, if you don't I think feel I think unhealthy in your whole year, then in that situation obviously you will not use it. So it can be added up for next year, but your employer can have a limit on that. If your employer don't want that situation to happen, your employer can have a separate policy for that. Obviously, it's always good for employers to have in their employee handbooks, or if you have an employment agreement, to specifically mention that. So there is no issue, I think, later on if an employee uses previous years thinking that the employer didn't specifically restricted or capped that, uh, and then employer is thinking I have not allowed it. Then if employer and employee have a dispute, employee is terminated, then there can be a situation of a retaliation based on using this particular benefit, and that can be costly for the employer. So these are the basic rules surrounding the paid sick leave, or you can also call it as paid time off. So how an employee would be able to know where how much paid sick leave or number of hours or time is left in a particular year. So you can always refer to, because employers are required by labor code through 246, that the employer need to provide that information on their wage statement, which they provide to the employee when they are giving those paychecks. And usually it's provided if you're getting a direct deposit through an employee portal, if your employer is offering one, or you would have a printed copy of your wage statement and it should include that. Or if you are using any other method, an employer can probably separately provide a written piece of document which mentions how much time is left or how much you have used and how much is left. But that needs to be given at a time frame when you are getting your paycheck. So that's the requirement of the law. If suppose you don't provide that information, then again government comes in, uh, an employee reports to the labor commissioner can enforce this requirement, and can cite a penalty of $50 per day. You are just keep on making this violation until $4,000. That's the maximum amount of penalty which can be accrued. Obviously, it's related to one employee, one violation. If you keep on doing with your other employee, there can be a whole lot of other violations, and your penalties keep on raising. Suppose you are not able to, I think, comply with this requirement, and you keep on making mistakes. There is another option for the labor commissioner to just file a civil action against you to stop you from not complying and just keep on violating these laws. In that situation, obviously, whole lot of other stuff will be involved, because labor commissioner would have the issue with only the single requirement. They would be investigating you for whole other requirement. Are you complying with your minimum wage requirement, overtime, meal and rest break? They would come up with all those cause of actions and file a civil complaint against you. So then there would be issue of interest, issues of penalties, and all these are cumulative. So in that situation, you can understand, I think, for each employee, if you would be violating, and I can understand, if you are not organized enough, you would be violating this for every other employee. So now all your penalties will keep on rising. And if you have a situation of, suppose you have certain policies for how your payroll is processed, you are organized enough, and you are making like some odd clerical mistake here and there, that's acceptable. Probably labor commissioner will not cite you for those kind of like one-off violations or an isolated incident. But if you are not organized enough, if you are not even following the basic labor codes, that in that situation it would be considered as an intentional violation, and it would not be, I think, hard to show that if you are following all the other labor code or not. In that situation, then your penalties rise up, and the judgment amount which the labor commissioner would be getting up, it would be huge. And that judgment can be converted into a normal civil judgment, and your plaintiff or your employees can, I think, enforce those judgment against you by putting a lien on your property, or a whole lot of other available ways to collect a judgment. So you need to consider, I think, and check out your wage statement, if you are providing that information to your employees or not, because the situation would be, if you're not providing, then you should just, I think, immediately work on complying with the law. Otherwise, there is great consequences for it. Thanks for watching this video. So I will see you in the next video with another topic about employment law. Thank you.